Kenny, it's Nick. Are you coming down?
Alright, Nick, are you right? Aye, I'm on my way, mate.
Let me speak to him. How long are you going to be?
I'm on my way, keep your fucking hair on.
Right, okay, mate.
Alright, welcome to the Back2Back Podcast with myself, Nick, Checketts and Paddy. Each month we want to bring different guests in the UK club culture world and discuss a wide range of topics, and we hope that will provide some entertainment. Paddy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Paddy, and we'd like to introduce our first guest, Kenny from Dixon Avenue Basement Jams.
Welcome, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Not too bad. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself? Introduce yourself.
Jesus, I'm a horrible old bastard for Glasgow. Been promoting since the fucking 90s. Started in hardcore, moved to Glasgow, started a techno night, started a label called Dixon Avenue Basement Jams. The rest is history.
So, I mean, we know, most people in Scotland don't know Dixon Avenue Basement Jams as a pretty big, releasing label and DJ duo. So how did you start that?
We came to the end a club night we were running. We ran a club night for 10 years called Monox, techno, and it came to the end of its life, finished it, and me and Dan hadn't really seen each other for, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe on and off. We hadn't really been spending much time together.
Oh, you and Dan been like mates beforehand?
We run the club together. I moved to Glasgow. I moved to Glasgow to start the club night with him. We had a mutual friend that brought us together, and I moved to Glasgow for Lanarkshire to start this club night. Did it for a decade, and then we were best pals. We lived together in that. So we'd both kind of moved out the flat. Hadn't seen each other for a couple of years, met back up and said, we really need to be hanging out a bit more, what can we do? I was like, let's start a record label. We'd been doing like radio shows kind of independently, and people were sending us different demos, and it was just sitting there with a lot of music sitting ready to go. So we thought, let's start a label. There was no real plan behind it. We had stuff from kind of Mark Hawkins and Jared Wilson and different pals, but there was no real plan for it to sound like anything or be anything or even be as kind of visual as it ended up. So we just started it, tried to make it look a bit more less thought. So we're like, we'll just stamp it, we'll put it out there like we done.
Fuck it, attitude.
Aye, like we haven't, let's make it look like we haven't planned it. And I just kind of...
How long ago was this?
How long have we been going for? 6 years? 6 years ago, 7 years ago, aye.
See, in terms of like, you say you didn't plan a sound, did you plan a sound? Because
we didn't plan a sound, right, but we had it in our head, like we wanted it to, it was a kind of homage to like kind of Relief and Casual and UR and like all the big Chicago and Detroit things that we'd been playing for years. So it was a kind of homage to that, to try and get that sound more towards Relief and Casual, to be fair. So it's like kind of jack and rough, kind of raw sound.
From my perspective, like I've been producing quite a lot recently in lockdown, and my problem is, I'll make something, but then I'll be like, do I want to release that? Like, it's good, but like, do I want to have that to my name? If you get what I mean? Like,
that's why you start a label and put other people's stuff out. You don't have that legacy. It's them that feel that way. Aye, no, I get what you're saying. It's like when you're producing, or even if you want a sound, it's difficult to then take that next leap to go, that's good enough to let people hear, which is probably why we kind of took the shite bags route and probably started a label putting other people's music.
Who was the first person releasing that?
Jared Wilson's, but it was like, it wasn't planned to put somebody big out either. Jared is the only person who was an established artist that we didn't ask them to change their name. And we only asked people to change their name just to see if the music would work, as opposed to putting out a kind of bigger name and try and make money. Mm-hmm. So Jared wasn't really that big at the time anyway, but he was established. And Jared was first.
And were you playing in Glasgow pretty regularly before that then?
Not as someone who you would book regularly, no, because we were just promoters mainly, but and as being an established promoter, the odd kind of night up and coming will ask you to come and play, but no massively, not lots of gigs.
How beforehand? How long were you DJing beforehand and like were you producing back then as well?
I still don't know if I'd call myself a producer, Paddy. Do you know what I mean? It's like you tinker, but most people you listen to are better than yourself. Well, that's the way I look at it anyway. But I've been.
It comes out of perception, doesn't it?
Totally. But I was using Reason and kind of wee bits of Ableton for kind of way back then messing about. But I never ever let anybody else hear it.
So in terms, like, you mentioned Ableton there, like, obviously from what I've been doing, I started in Logic, and at the start, actually in lockdown, I was like, I'm not with Logic, I can't do what I want to do. I was coming up with ideas, and it was too difficult to get to the point, like to get to the sound I wanted. So I moved to Ableton, and it's been game changer. Like genuinely, I know Paddy. He's still a Logic, but you know
you move, Paddy, man. It's just it makes life easier. It's just there for you to do.
One thing what I was doing is
we're under attack there.
But one thing what I was finding easier is, you know, as a DJ, I was looking at a lot of like old school sort of 90s sort of tech house, early tech house stuff.
Yep.
Really obscure
it's
stuff.
It's a bad word now, that, isn't it?
It is.
Tech house.
Well, the swag record sort of stuff.
Oh no, it's a different genre, isn't it?
And I was going through this stuff, and you find a little segment, and I sample some of the chip tracks and put them in, and Ableton, you could at ease just sample stuff, put it in, and you can make something amazing. And that's what, you know, it's been a game changer in terms of, for me.
I don't know, it's just, I think for me it's the layout on Ableton. I just really can't get my head around.
It's brutal to start, but see if you like sit down and learn it. I mean, I'm still new to it obviously, but it's definitely helped.
I went away and did a course because I used Reason for years, and like Ableton just it puzzled me as well.
Reason's quite an old one, like it's kind of outdated now. Nobody really uses it, do they?
But it was easier because it was like it looks like machines. Do you know what I mean? It's a rack. It looks like machines. So if you've ever used them, it's kind of it makes more sense.
But
so
it's mad how much it's changed in comparison to like imagine like 10 years ago you're making a track to how not easy, but how much more like available it is now.
Mate, see when you get into the studio with somebody like that, like I've been lucky enough to like work with Neil Landstrom. See, go in the studio with somebody like Neil, and like I bumble about in the studio, I've not got a fucking clue. And he just knows what he's doing, do you know what I mean? It's the way he works, the way he goes to machines, the way he knows. You feel that FUD.
So for you, Bill, like, say if you're going in and starting a track from scratch, like, what would do you have a process, or? Nah,
mate, I'm a stoner. I just kind of bumble through life. It depends. When you're working with different people, maybe you've got different processes just to make it easier to start. But you maybe go in with an idea loosely. Like if you want to make something quick, or you make something slow, or make something deep, that's about it, man.
What would you say, like, say when you're making a track, do you kind of base it off like another track?
Have done. If you're working in the studio regularly and you'll come up against a wall, it's like, where am I going to go here? Pick a track you want to sound like. Evidently, it's not going to sound like that in the end, but it's a good framework to start with.
I've always struggled for. I mean, I'm sure a lot of producers will be the same, or people who make music, like finishing a track. You'll get like 8 bars going, like that is banging, and it's just building the track.
Aye.
And you're sitting on all these fucking projects, and you're just like,
That's exactly what I'm like, man. I just get millions of loops sitting
19.
Aye.
And I think that's something I struggled with for a while. Recently, the past month, I've been slightly better at getting stuff done, which is good. But then you'll make something, and obviously you listen to it a while, and then you just you know.
Yeah. I'm still a massive novice, man. It's like I've only had my first 3 records out in the past year and a half, 2 years, so it's still a massive.
You've got more into producing, like over lockdown.
Maybe just before lockdown, the year before lockdown, I was getting more into it, so it's just been a progression for then. But I'm still a massive novice.
It's a difficult one though, especially finishing a track for me is the hardest part as well. Is you'll come to the end of it and it's finding that line in between saying where is it finished?
Yeah.
because you could just keep working on it, and then the next thing you know, 6 months down the line, it's a completely different track.
If somebody's got that template they work to in their mind, so let's see somebody like Bobby Orlando, even like Back to Disco, apparently he didn't like what he was making, but he had a formula. Like, he hated high energy disco, but he had a fucking formula for it and just smashed it out. See if you can get that with techno and house. You've got a formula, so you know your process. Like somebody like Rupert, like DJ House, he's clearly got a formula, so he can bang tunes out, so he can finish everything he starts.
Yeah, I think the way I look at music now is, you know, I get, you know, since lockdown I've been buying a lot of vinyl, and getting all these like 90s, late 90s, early 2000s stuff, because I feel personally it's just got that analog feel, and it just feels like
Feels more raw.
It feels raw compared to.
I'm not a fan of that polished sound either, man.
No, it's not for me. I do feel like a lot of genres are getting just overdone, saturated now, and you could be any track, you know what I mean. And for me as well, you know, as playing DJs, I want to go as a punter. If it was me going into a club, I'd want to go and hear it, you know, listen to someone and be like, what the fuck is that track?
Came out with a mad stone theory last night about all that, how it's became polished. It's like it's an Insta generation into it. It's like when it wasn't always there. In fact, it's been maybe 3 years old. That thing where Instagram's a necessity. When we started doing that club, Monox back then, we pushed everything through forums online. So it's like, if you wanted to know about something like that, you went to a forum, as opposed to like
somebody just
a
coming
public
across
forum.
it
Aye, like your ma. Do you know what I mean? Your ma's on Facebook coming to listen to me promoting some fucking techno night or some track.
Or some fucking podcast.
Or some fucking podcast. But it then has to become more accessible to everybody so you can bring more online. So if I'm rattling out raw techno and my ma's pals listen to it, or my ma's pal's son, they're like, what's that shit? Yeah. So you need to make it more polished to get more people involved, because you're on a public forum as opposed to people coming to try and find you.
So your night, what was the progression of that night, and how did it end? Because I've you know done nights myself for the past 6 years, and you know how did night progress?
We were a group of guys at maybe different levels of understanding the city. Like, one guy was running a disco night, and at the time disco was no fucking cool in Glasgow at all. One guy was running a record shop. I was coming from Lanarkshire, so I was like a country fucking yokel, do you know what I mean? And then with another couple of guys, one guy did dub, two guys did disco, one guy did dub, so we were coming from different angles, but we were all into techno. And the sound house had 2 rooms, so we had something to do with the other room. So we've got to do with this other room, so we put the reggae guy in there for a bit. So for the first year, we had 3 rooms, and so we put the reggae in there, and they were brilliant.
Was this in Glasgow? Yeah.
Aye, at the Sound House. Aye, it was like a members only club. It's not it's not doing it. Members only club. So we had 3 rooms to fill. We ended up moving it down to 2 rooms. The dub guy was a bit older than us. They ended up kind of wrapping it, and we changed it to house, and that's where I came in. I ran the house room. But it was just, we were just booking people we liked in Glasgow, or even the UK. And I think we were maybe 4 or 5 parties in. Dan will probably correct me on this, I probably made it up. But 4 or 5 parties in, and then we booked Adam X. Like we flew somebody for the States, and that was like, we hadn't put any other parties onto that level before. Like, I'd run hardcore unders nights and fucking Lanark and things like that.
Well, but hardcore was quite like a big scene back then, wasn't it?
Aye, well, we were talking about that recently as well. It's like in every town, in every village, in every wee village hall, there was an unders on, or some party, or some rave. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it wasn't you weren't cool if you were listening to rave. It was just, that's what everybody was doing. You got to a certain age, you went to a rave on a Friday night sort of thing. But aye, with Monox, there wasn't really I don't think Dan had a massive idea behind it, apart from just putting techno nights on.
That's the thing though, sometimes I think if you don't have like a plan or like an idea behind what you wanted to do, that's
you can't feel.
Aye, that's it. That's if you set yourself up, if you get something, you get a bit disappointed in yourself if you're like, oh, it was meant to go like this, but if you just go with the flow.
Yeah. It got to a stage where they were booking, every month they were booking, it was big artists we were booking, do you know what I mean? We were bringing people from Detroit or Chicago or New York or Germany like every other month. But it just got to a stage where, I don't know, we'd been in the Sound House, I think we'd been in the Sound House for 8 years, and the Sound House was starting, there was things where it was getting a bit daft, where they didn't have licenses, and the kind of police were squeezing them a wee bit, and then we moved to the sub club. So we moved to the sub club for our last year and a half, and how many parties did we finish on? 100 parties or 10 year? I can't remember. We finished on a round number anyway, and that's why we finished, because it got to that number. And I'm that old, I can't even fucking remember what it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, you obviously, before you mentioned about Instagram, I think when I started, it's when Instagram was just kind of getting them popularity, and I think
Back when I had that brown logo.
yeah, I think the way I look at it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like obviously from my perspective, I think a lot of people now expect, they see Instagram, they see social media, and they see all these big DJs playing Ibiza, Warehouse Project on Instagram all the time, and I think a lot of them expect that now every weekend in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and then it puts pressure on promoters to book these guys, and it means you have to pay 3-4 grand for guys, even more.
Would you say that was the same kind of case like back when you were running nights, so like DJs?
And it drowns out the residents, in my opinion.
I think we would have probably fought against that. Although at the time, I'm just trying to think, DJs at that level, you're talking about maybe Paul Oakenfold and Danny Ramplin and Radio 1 DJs, and you wouldn't even have thought twice about trying to book them. It just wasn't what we were doing.
Yeah. Was that like the kind of like peak, like you'd say? Like,
I'm just trying to think who's up there. Let's see somebody like Patrick Toppin or Peggy Goo, like somebody who's like enormous.
Equivalent,
Like, we wouldn't even, it wasn't what we were doing, so it didn't cross our mind. We were just trying to book the people that the records we were buying. That's all we were doing.
Yeah, I mean,
and hopefully fill the place. It wasn't even about, we'll book them and that'll fill the place.
How did you go about actually like promoting these nights then? Was that just through the forums?
Mostly through forums, but we also through putting posters and flyers up. It was still putting flyers on pub tables was still a thing. So we would be like Thursday, Friday, Saturday night putting flyers on pub tables for the first maybe 4 or 5 years until we started paying people to do it. But we'd been lifted putting posters up on walls, like, you know, it was illegal in Glasgow to staple posters to railings at some point, you know, like crossroads in the street. I mean, me and Dan getting lifted for that.
You're lifted for a poster?
Lifted for fucking putting posters. I'm sitting in the back of the motor, my slate's clean, I don't have a record. And they're like that to Dan, so you've got a record here, Mr. Lorinsky? And I was like, oh aye, dark horse. He'd been caught selling Eckies when he was 18 or something. Don't tell his mom.
Yeah, but I think the posters as well, like, I remember when I started, you know, with the uni halls, I flyed the uni halls, the fresher staff, and then toward like 3 years later, I didn't even bother, it was all online. And as a promoter, it was brutal.
I think for 3 or 4 years doing flyers, we were like, is this doing anything, man?
Yeah,
is it doing anything? But you don't want to stop.
It's actually quite a lot to buy like fucking 2,000 flyers.
You can't. It's one of these things where you can't actually physically see like a return off it. You're like, are these people coming because I've given them a flyer?
But you're scared to stop doing it because if you that month you stop doing it, you've got an empty party. You're like, is that because we didn't flyer?
I know, and then sometimes you get to the point as a promoter, you're like, you need to sell 1,000 tickets to break even. Well, 500 tickets to break even.
Yeah.
Day before, you're like sitting like 100. You're like, fuck, doing everything you can, and you know, at the end of the day, sometimes
I don't miss it, man.
Nah, it's
I can imagine it being a stressful thing. Like,
it was pure luck that we were able to get out it because the label started doing well, and off the back of it we started getting gigs, and we hadn't planned for the label to furnish us with a career.
So I take it you started off with like the Dixon Avenue Basement Jams being like the label, and then you kind of progressed into being a duo.
It wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to furnish us with gigs at all. It was.
It's quite a unique thing, though, eh? To like
stupid, Paddy. we should have gave it first of all a shorter name, and then we should have gave me and Dan a different name, because like people don't. When we first put our first record out with Big Miz there, they just thought it was a Big Miz record on Dabbed, which you would. So we fucked it a wee bit.
Yeah, I suppose that's one thing that, you know, when I first came across this, I wasn't quite sure.
Loads of people still.
But in terms of like another thing that, you know, there's a lot of young DJs coming through now, more than there used to be. I think with
it's easier, it's more accessible.
It's a lot easier.
You can pretend to be big with Instagram.
You can with Instagram.
Maybe I should do that.
Well, that's the thing. But you know, it's coming through. One of the reasons I actually got to promoting was, you know, I was a young DJ. I was DJing in Perth for a while, and then came through to Edinburgh for uni, meshing promoters, and they wasn't getting any gigs at all.
I think that's why we did it as well.
And then I started one night, and then that's when I got a bit of recognition and progressed there. But you know, it's a lot of people wonder how to get gigs and stuff, and you know, what would some of your advice be in terms of young DJs coming through in terms of?
I'm probably the worst person to act now because I watch young people I know who I've kind of worked with, whether it's DJing or promoting, and the way they go about things just isn't how I would recommend to do it, but that is how you need to do it these days. Like the big massive presence on Instagram, you need to be putting 4 stories out a day and 5 pictures, and you need to interact with that. And ask me a fucking question. It's like, why are you on Instagram? That's my fucking question.
No, but it's like, even for when like we were coming up, like to get those gigs, you had to be consistently going at that night, showing face, showing that you were like interested, and you wanted to just say that fucking party. You had to get a bit of a character. Yeah.
I think we wouldn't have took it that way. That felt like too big a risk for me. It's like too big a chance to get knocked back. So we kind of just did it with our own ways. Like start your own label, start your own night, do it that way, push your, like kind of squeeze your way into the scene sort of thing. Just doing your own thing, as opposed to, it seemed harder for me to be asking for gigs. Or like to be...
Or if you create the gigs yourself.
Exactly. It seems a bit easier.
Eliminate that person.
Take away the rejection part, do you know what I mean? It's like, just take yourself.
One thing I'd always say is, you know, I learnt my lesson when I first started is don't sit and message promoters and not go down to their nights. Do you know what I mean? Nah. I think if you want to play a party, go down and meet them and be like, show your support, come down, you know, and
come right in the front.
If I think about it like that, with nights we'd been putting on for years, a lot of the boys that ended up being residents were regulars. Like you say, they come down and they give you patter and you understand they're into the same tunes and you and they end up DJing with you, so probably is good advice. I don't know what my advice would be. It would be the same, but I don't know if it would work. Do you know what I mean? Start your own thing, and it's like, costs a lot more money to do your own thing now. And are people that interested if you're not putting on big acts?
Well, that's the thing though, you haven't to set aside a budget. Say if you were promoting now, like a night now, so you just started off, you'd be having to set like a massive budget aside just for social media.
Aye.
Like your flyers are like redundant now.
See if we'd put on Monox and now we were putting on guests like Ed DMX at the time, right? And Ed wasn't big, it was niche. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't selling loads of records. So if we were putting on guests like that now, you would get barely anybody through the door. And if you don't have a big circle of pals, even. That's how you need to start. You need to have a big circle of pals, basically, to start a wee night.
My dream of my night was. My dream was.
Or sell cheap Beckies.
My dream was to put big, like massive parties on, but with DJs that I really wanted to book, and I'd be busy anyway.
Yeah.
But to get even some of the biggest brands in the world will struggle to do that.
Right.
So.
If you're playing a day in a convoluted city like Edinburgh and Glasgow can be, you could have the best idea in the world. Some other cunt's got a better idea that weekend, you're fucking empty, do you know what I mean?
That's it.
Aye.
But like those unique kind of parties as well, like the likes of like Fly Open and having somewhere like fucking Edinburgh Castle right at the bottom.
That's a whole different outlook, but into it, Tom's got massive balls.
Aye, that would take balls to fucking come up with some of that, to just go with it as well.
Aye.
I think that's where it's at with these parties, is finding these amazing venues, and like it doesn't matter what size it is, it could be massive, it could be small, and people are coming for the experience. Right? It's all about creating experiences and venues that people have not been before.
Yeah.
And creating a brand. And
I think that's the difference between putting parties and raves on. Tom's putting raves on, and he's like putting big events on and interesting spaces. It's a whole different ball game for putting on like 300 or 400 people in a party.
In a dingy club.
Aye, which I would prefer. But it's two different spectrums of how you would do it.
But like Edinburgh, in terms of the venues in Edinburgh, I mean, how would you compare it to Glasgow?
I don't know. I feel like whenever I've played in Glasgow, I just feel like it's a completely different atmosphere.
What do you mean? Like it's more go for it?
Not even that. I don't know. It's weird. It just feels like.
Listen, see when I started getting more gigs, and we started doing dabs, like Edinburgh and London didn't have good reputations for parties, and we didn't see why, because we were coming here and we were going to things like Substance or even Nick's days, early days at Sneakies and that, and the parties were fucking having it. They were rammed and they were great, and it was good music.
Yeah.
And there was like 3, 4, 5 different venues in Edinburgh at the time, and I think there's before lockdown there was as well, wasn't there?
Yeah. Oh,
so it's like it's not as if there isn't scope to put loads of parties on, but Glasgow seems to be a wee bit different, and I think it maybe carries off the back of the reputation that it's had. It's like generations come through want to keep that reputation up, so they'll go a wee bit after at a party because you're supposed to do that.
I feel like whenever I play Glasgow, or whenever I've been on a night out in Glasgow, like the punters are just like, they're so much more up for it. They just like want to have a good time. Like even I remember my first time going to Subway, I was like just walking about and I bounced into this guy by mistake. I was like, oh, here we fucking go. And he was completely sound about it. He was like, shoot my hand in that. And I was like, that was happening in Edinburgh, man. You're outside the front door, the bouncer chucking you.
It is easy going, and the parties were more fucking popping in Glasgow. But aye, the reputation that Edinburgh had like 10 years ago is not putting on good parties, or no being as banging as Glasgow, wasn't really. We didn't find that, man.
No, I mean I don't find that personally. I think the Edinburgh crowd, you know, I've seen some amazing crowds here, but I think, you know, Edinburgh's slightly limited with some venues, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I was in Catville for quite a few years, and that was brilliant. But apart from that, I mean, obviously you got Sneakies, Bongos,
Well, Catville as well. Catville's obviously got a very big reputation.
but Sneakies is
Good
hard.
parties,
Sneakies is the one, like.
It's hard to, like, it's pretty chock-a-block with things though, like, to get.
Nick Cuddard's a resident in Sneakies, and we loved it, man. It was like, felt like we cut our teeth in Edinburgh playing there.
Yeah, Sneaky. It's just
Brilliant,
such like an intimate. You feel like,
On the
because
dance floor, yeah.
especially now that they've changed the booth, that you're on the you're actually on the dance floor now.
They take the stage away.
This,
I used to like an hour into the night, 2 hours into the night, everybody would just invade the stage.
But even there, that's the fact. Like, because you're so like involved with the crowd,
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
you just
The sound is great.
just feels like you're at a gaff, just partying along.
I suppose it would be much better. Like having that elevating a DJ isn't really something I subscribe to. I would rather they would just get fucked in a corner at the road,
Aye.
and people can just do their own thing on a dance floor. There's no need to be staring at us. I mean, what is it to fucking look at?
I think one
Shoes.
One thing that
Fair
I
enough,
find
Paddy, fair
frustrating with Edinburgh is I've like come up with some ideas to do like these unique parties I've talked about, trying to go around finding venues and, you know, dealing with trying to get a license from the council, you know, is near impossible.
Yeah, I think that's a problem in every city, but into they're not really interested in what we do after midnight in a city. They're just like that, get to
You see it like the warehouse project's got those, you know, it's got the venue under the train station. So apparently there's vaults under the Edinburgh train station that are like blocked off or something. So I've been trying to like find out where they are.
How do you get in roads with that?
Jackhammer.
I heard a couple of rumours, made some inquiries. Apparently Network Rail owns them, and they're just sitting there empty, huge vaults. And
Get in amongst it.
I know. Well, that's the thing. That would be something, But
Where are they? Under like Waverley?
you know, on Colton Road.
Oh yeah, no, I do know what you mean. Aye.
Glasgow Central's the same, man. Under the station there's a full load of network of passageways and vaults and shit. They definitely wouldn't be up for putting parties on in there, but
You might just try to get a license for that.
So in terms of like Scottish talent, I mean, from my perspective, I think it's coming to the fore. Like,
Well, I think there's definitely a lot of like good Scottish DJs and producers coming out just now.
there's been a kind of continuous kind of avalanche of it for the past kind of 8 to 10 years though. Because like, feel like maybe like Optimo onwards and then moving on to Jack, there's like, it's kind of like, there's a continuous, and like with Jack and that opening the door, or even maybe Rusty and Hud Mo, it's like kind of opened it up for
I
everybody.
always forget I fucking had some Mohawks in Glasgow as well, eh?
So it's like, with that opening the door, there's loads of young people think they can do it, and so they should. So I think it's been constant since then. I'm totally out the loop with, because we backed off for the kind of first bit of kind of lockdown, and there's been so many youngsters coming through. I am totally out the loop.
But will they not? I mean, you'll get obviously people sending you tracks.
You'd be surprised, man. We don't get, I think, because in the first few years we got loads of demos and we kind of just told everybody to fuck off. You weren't really interested in.
How were you getting demos back then? Was that the same through the forums, or just like people fucking bringing CDs?
Aye, people would drop you a CD or a USB stick or something like that, wouldn't they?
Fucking this.
The amount of times I've woke up my hotel room with a fucking bag full of USB sticks. Nobody gives you their details either. You can find the best tunes ever and you can't get back to them.
But yeah, so do people just not get many demos now?
We don't get much, no. I don't know if it's because we seem unapproachable in pictures or something, but we don't get. And we kind of hunted loads of people because it wasn't what we wanted to do at the start. We had loads of music. We weren't looking for anything. We didn't need anybody to send us anything. We wanted to create a wee family. So there was like kind of artists that we wanted to work with for Glasgow or for wherever. And we had a lot of stuff sitting ready to go. The same as the new, we've got a load of stuff sitting ready to go. So anybody that sends us demos, if they send a day list of demos now, if they send them. But if anybody sends us something, they're going to be waiting for a year at least to put something out, because it's not that it's a big waiting list. You've just got loads of stuff ready to go and you can't put it all out at the same time.
You need to give everyone their
as much as I would love to do, like put 2 records out in a month, it just isn't fair on an artist, I don't think. For a label like us, other labels who promote and push and spend loads of money, aye, fair enough, but if I put out 2 in a month, the artist isn't going to get the benefit of us getting behind it really, and it's no fair. So 1 a month's about as quick as we can put them out, unless we're doing digital only stuff, which we will sometimes do as well.
So in terms of marketing for your label, what's your process behind it, mate? Because like obviously
this is a disappointing answer, man.
We're doing I'm helping Paddy with We're Nothing.
We just had our first release in November there, with Glasgow artists as well, Maka. Don't know if you've heard of his stuff.
No. Send me.
We'll send you over, let you have a wee listen, but it's a difficult one to, especially now in this like social media kind of era, and how you market it.
I've kind of toyed with thinking about trying to do something different or doing it differently over the past year or so, but I don't think it would work for us, man. I don't think. See, if we start looking and like we're trying, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean, yeah.
If we start looking like we're pushing something, it's like, are people going to start thinking, is this one shite? Is that why? Is that why they're pushing this one a wee bit harder? Because we're never really there or thereabouts when a record comes out. We do use marketing, and we do put stuff out with kind of promo companies, but
so if it works, why change it?
I think it's a bit of a wanky attitude, but it's like, if the music works, just let it do its thing, man. If it's shite, it won't sell. If it's good, it will sell. Hopefully.
I'll go nip away for a piss, but that'll be too soon.
So another topic that I wanted to discuss is there's been a bit of controversy recently. Ghost producers, mate.
I don't have any beef with it, man. How do I put it? It's something that's happened for years. And if a ghost producer means that you contact somebody independently and you say to them, make me a track, I'll buy it off you and put my name on it, it's like, if you want to do that and that's your thing, then fair enough, but you're not really going to get any decent feeling off the back of it or any achievement, are you? If a ghost producer means that you go into the studio with somebody and they produce for you as you give them ideas, well, that's something that's been happening in any art form for years, isn't it? It's like, you're not telling me Da Vinci painted all that on his own.
Yeah, well, you're right. I think, I've obviously heard a lot of stories from a reputable source that a lot of the drum code stuff's made by one guy in a shed in Southampton. You know what I mean?
If that's the case, then that's I was going to say it's no cool, but it's no. For the independent artists, you're not going to get any. There's no buzz off that, is there? It's just for money.
No, I couldn't imagine anyone like going out and playing, getting 10 grand for a show and then, playing.
It's just dollar into it. It's different for what we do. It's like you're looking to get a feeling off what you're doing or some sort of success that way, as opposed to just make the cash. But if you're producing with somebody in the studio, you don't know how to work the machines. That's sound, I think.
Yeah.
You need to get there somehow.
If you're laying down your ideas, because it's a difficult thing to learn, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
it's your ideas though as well. It's not as if the guy who's doing the production has come up with the ideas. It's that you need to get the paint and the palette onto the fucking canvas.
Essentially writing it down, aye.
Yeah. No, I'm sound it. Know that I do it.
Yeah, I mean,
Because obviously I've had no fucking success, so I'm sound it.
To be honest, like the way I look at it is, I know that, you know, I'm not at that top level of these guys, so it doesn't really bother me in the sense. But I want to make good music for myself, and I want to, you know, I know that I will never go to that top huge level, because I see my future somewhere else, and you know.
There definitely is a fine line between somebody helping you impose your ideas into the program, or like straight up just buying a beat and be like putting your name to it. Like that, like I'm not really going to respect that, but I understand that some people just don't know how to physically implement like that music. They might have that idea in their head,
right.
They might have the best idea, and they just don't know how to do it.
Exactly, and you need, if you can work with somebody that can then bring that to the kind of front, then I'm totally sound with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a guy that helps me with mix downs and mastering.
Yeah,
that's definitely something you need to help me, man.
Yeah,
something I need to help with. So to go to somebody to do different processes or different bits in the process totally makes sense.
And even a track I finished recently, I'm really pretty happy with actually. You made one slight adjustment. It was a little tiny bit of an echo to the slightly trippy vocal I had, and it just made a massive difference.
It's a learning process as well. When you work with somebody like that, the next time you do it, you can do it yourself. So it's like,
yeah, and it's good progression because like he's a different sort of music style to me.
Yeah.
But so we're trying to, like, the past couple of months we've trying to be discussing, like, he's trying to learn my sound, if you know what I mean, what I like. And
it's the thing with music though, because essentially there's no rules. You're always constantly learning though, aren't you? You know what I mean?
So yeah, in terms of COVID, like, we should probably discuss that.
don't have it.
It's a good start.
Have you ever had any scares?
I've been tested like 3 times, but one I just felt a bit shit. One I was going to another country.
When you're hungover.
No real scares with friends or family, and I've known people that have kind of had it, but nah.
My dad he's a healthcare worker, so he got a vaccine yesterday actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so he's on the road to get.
What do you think about the vaccine?
Any mutations yet?
Well, his arm's sore. But nah, to be honest, like, I don't get these vaccine
I don't know if I'm kind of in two minds if I take it.
Oh no, you're not an anti-vaxxer,
No,
Paddy.
I'm not anti-vaxxer, I don't want to but I'm just in two minds if I'll take it or not.
Why not though?
You've took worse.
I know.
But like, in terms, like, obviously our scene's been ravaged, like, in terms of.
I can't see anything happening anytime soon, because there was a point a couple of months ago where there was people talking about using kind of spray booths and something, like you would go in like a security type booth for an airport and it would spray you down, and there was like 3-minute tests people could have, and I thought that looked positive. If we can, if people bring that in,
not the test.
As
long as the tests are negative. But it looked cool. It looked as if we were going to be able to do parties if that was coming in, but that's kind of.
I mean, we're seeing. They're saying that it's looking like March before everyone's done. I mean, that's probably a.
But whether if the clubs are going to open or not,
I don't think so, man. They were talking about a thing in TalkSport the other day there, where they were saying they're expecting to have full stadiums next autumn, and if that's outside, so when are we going to start doing things
clubs
inside?
It's not even that, it's the fact of, like, when clubs open, what's the next step from there? Like, what DJs are going to get, what's going to happen, like how our night's going to progress?
God, I don't know. I'm a bit down on all that now, but you just never know. I can see, we were talking about earlier about the kind of Insta generation, and it's like, it's all live streams now, and it's like that's one of the only ways you can promote who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if it becomes more and more polished, it's like people are doing shit live streams are the one that's not going to get watched. So if more people are putting effort into these live streams, then it becomes more like Boiler Room, and people who haven't been in clubs see that, and that's how you act in a club. It's like,
yeah,
I know I'm big fucking neggy. I know.
But like I look at clubs the way they might be after COVID, when things like, you know, go back to normal. I could see a rejuvenation in them in terms of folk will not turn up to. The problem is a club, folk don't turn up to fucking 1:30.
Yeah, exactly.
They missed the whole fucking night because and
so people are going to come now at like 10 o'clock.
Maybe folk won't take them for granted anymore.
I think you're giving society a bit of credit there. I think.
Maybe for at least, I'd like to think maybe for a year we might see like every night rammed. But
I think you're right there. I think when it comes back, getting into clubs will be torture, but they will be rammed. There'll be ticket sales. In fact, there'll need to be ticket sales because we'll need to see where everybody's coming from.
Exactly, track and trace and that.
Aye.
So I mean, it could be opportunities there.
Yeah,
but if it's going to be like capacities that are reducing that, it's not worth a fuck, is it?
That's what it's a question of when are we actually going to get back to normality?
Yeah.
Like when everything's just how it was beforehand. That could be years, eh?
Oh, Paddy, you break my heart.
But like, I think as well, a big fact has been mental health for a lot of people as well during lockdown. People feed off seeing their friends and just going out for a rave. People don't understand how much like a wee blowout.
I didn't at the start, but we were fine, like just spending time together, and there was sunshine at the start of the lockdown and all that, and having a back garden, it was cool, just smoking dope and doing fuck all. But you start realising when all the stuff you've been forced to leave behind, like you don't get to go to football, you don't get to go to clubs, you can't meet your family, your friends, it's going to affect everybody's mental health, isn't it?
100%, especially when the weather's like that, man.
I think it's been like, from my perspective, it was good. I think it's been good for some people to kind of get a reset for a bit.
Yeah.
Aye.
I think it was good for me in that sense. I was like flat out with uni and work, full-time work.
Well, I think it's good for anyone drinking 4 pints. They can't get it 4 times a week.
Yeah, drinking all the time. But it was good for a while. But then, you need to see your friends. You need to, the simple thing. We DJ'd every weekend.
Yeah.
And that simple. You take gigs we used to start taking for granted, didn't we?
Yeah, but even the shitey bar gigs.
I'm exactly the same myself, man. You do take all that for granted. I've got a couple of bar residencies, and it's like you just turn up on a Thursday night and do them and go up the road.
Yeah, that's it. Aye, a couple of pints.
But I can't wait to start doing that on a Thursday night. Just going and playing music. You do take it for granted.
But as well, we've seen some pictures. I don't know if there's some illegal raves happening during the lockdown.
Oh, it definitely has, 100%.
Well, I mean, we've seen some videos down in south, but I don't know if you see some DJs playing them.
Would I play it? I would. I definitely wouldn't play a Playgrave. No, that's getting cancelled, isn't it? It's just irresponsible, man. It's just holding everybody else back. It's like
raves are not on for a reason. I think there was. In Dundee there was quite a few that I knew that were going on.
I tell you what, it's harsh to judge, because if I was 21, I would be doing it.
It's got a different mentality the way. Like you don't look at when you're a bit older, you're looking at it like now, it's just
not your job to be responsible as a 20-year-old, is it?
You just want to have a good time, enjoy yourself.
I think if I was 21 and going to uni for the first time, and this was like in first year, and this was happening, you'd be like, this is your chance to go to a new city and meet everyone and do what we did, and finding your...
A small percentage of 20-21-year-olds are going to be saying, no, it's not safe to go to this party.
Yeah, and the kind of thing with me anyway, from my perspective, I've been there, kind of done it, so it wasn't too much of it. But this was my first time coming to Edinburgh. Then you'd be like, you wouldn't want to just stay in your flat. So
I think people have been harsh with the judgment on that, as if it's just they've been irresponsible. Of course they've been fucking irresponsible. You're fucking
kids, man.
Exactly, man. That's your job. But it's no like the bigger DJs who are playing them are just being daft. It's like daft and greedy.
You should know better, man.
It's like they've got money. The people that are playing them have got money in the bank as well. So it's like just.
Well, the thing I can't understand with a rave, like, well, the people the organisers, will they have obviously a rig that they don't mind losing?
Yeah. Or a 10 grand sitting about for that fine.
I think on the back of that, most people who are putting on these types of illegal parties are used to losing rigs and that anyway. It's part of the...
Really?
It's part of the thing, aye. It's like if you're putting on a legal rave, you're half expecting the police to appear. Sometimes they'll take your gear, sometimes they won't. So they're used to it. They're used to it, and there must be some sort of... they've done a budget and they can afford to lose it, can't they?
Yeah, because I mean, Glasgow's obviously got a bit of that.
I don't know how much it's been going on at. I've not really took any interest in any parties, so I would assume they've been happening, but
Have you played any parties, like obviously before COVID? Like some of the...
What, afters?
Yeah.
Aye, I played all the afters in Glasgow. You know, obviously there was a big scene for a while until the press got their fucking hands on it,
What
didn't
happened with that, man?
I don't know. I think it was just some young journalist thought she could do an expose. That's what they did, and it kind of had to die down for a bit. I think that was all just before COVID.
Were they just in just sort of
gaffs?
Checkmate. Have you been to any of the afters?
Yeah, Checkmate, yeah.
So it was Checkmate. There was the one that got the big expose, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But they're just in buildings in the city, whether it's a basement or whether it's a warehouse. So, and it just that scene's got bigger and bigger over a period of like 6 or 7 years through another generation coming through, because it was younger folk that were doing the party. So I think maybe they were finding it hard to get venues. So maybe they were coming in, they never put parties on before. They go to a venue, and like you say, maybe these venues had promoters had been putting parties on for a while, putting on bigger acts. Somebody comes through just at uni, can I put a party on, who or you'd never heard of you, so they need to go and find a fucking other venue, and they end up putting afters on. So I think there was like 3 or 4 happening at the one time.
Yeah, I mean that's something Edinburgh's never had.
Nah, never. So you always end up with some like
horrible gaff.
horrible
most
gaff
of the-
in the casinos.
Most of the guys that were running them knew the law, so they knew when the police turned up, the police couldn't get in if they didn't let them in and stuff like
Oh,
that.
really?
So they run like kind of locked door policies with bouncers, and they were looking after their punters. So when the police came, they were like, "We're coming in," and they're like, "No, you're not." So they knew what they were doing, and then the police end up no bothering them, because they know when they come down they can't get in anyway.
I guess so if no harm's been done, like
Aye.
if, you know, obviously there's laws being broken, but no harm's been done, there's no fights, anything like
I
that.
don't think there was much of them happening during lockdown.
So I think people would
I don't think
respect
the
it
afters
though,
were
eh?
going on.
You know what I mean? Because if people know like, oh, like we've been let to do this on the fact that if like nothing happens we're going to be sound, people can respect the fact of that.
Yeah.
And they're just there to enjoy themselves, they're there to have a good time.
Yeah.
And I think they'll kind of go along with that.
It's a cool story, but I can see why that journalist went with it, because it is a.
I mean, it got a lot of attention. So if
You're
you're a
like,
journalist,
you're like, fuck you, but it is a cool story to write, and people are interested in what. If you're not involved in that scene, or like, what are they up to? They're taking drugs and in warehouses after 4 o'clock in the morning. I know.
What are they up to?
I mean, it would it's something I would like to do. Well,
I think Aberdeen
I
had
wouldn't
quite a
have-
big scene like that as well, didn't they?
Nah, we played in Aberdeen, and they had a party in the beach, man. It was like in October. It was fucking freezing, so they took us down after the party down to an underpass.
Is that, I've heard that, that's like quite a famous spot, eh, with the underpass. But nah, nothing like that in Edinburgh, never. Like, I can't
Why is that? Is there more police?
I think there's so many police that I think people are just too feared and they just get shut down for it.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of parties I've been to where they've had like decks and like speakers and that, but it doesn't last long.
It became such a thing that the licences weren't changing in Glasgow for so long. I think that's how it became bigger and all. That you, like he was saying, fucking people don't turn up to 1:30. Party finishes at 3. Nobody wants to get home then.
I think
do
you've
they?
got different licensing times though in Glasgow, haven't you? Some places shut at 2, some shut at 3.
Aye.
You can
Aye,
get
and then to Christmas they move it to 4.
So we get the 5 AMs in Edinburgh during like the festival and Christmas
Yeah.
and all that. But nobody ever makes it till 5.
No.
Never. Maybe get a
But see, if
slight
it was a
handful.
constant thing, it would end up just getting into the culture. People wouldn't come out to 1:30, 2 o'clock, because you know you can stay to 5.
Exactly, aye.
I can't see it happening.
Nah. Well, I need to see the clubs opening for a while anyway.
Nah, mate.
We have to
I've
wait.
got a slash it on.
Killing number ones.
Right, yeah,
How long we at anyway? Hello, Fiona.
You end up doing a jobby? Right. Light on your feet now.
We're back. It's had a wee 5 break.
We're back after our hiatus. We went for a little.
Shut the fuck up.
Excuse me. Our live audience causing trouble.
Oh, man, it was a bit professional earlier.
We went for a wee
We break.
at the old Spay Lounge.
You want to spill out
We
a
met
couple of
some old
pints
Leith OGs, didn't we?
Much better patter.
than us.
Yes, you have to say. So we want to talk about your wildest afters story. There must be a few at your vintage.
Stumped. Well,
I don't know. I can't. No, I can't.
Can't even remember.
I can't.
Well, I mean, we've got a few, don't we?
Oh, we've got fucking plenty.
But we were playing a lot.
I can't.
There's a few. We've got a few famous stories of like people. Nah.
That's decent. That was a good story.
People licking Doug's boys for recce's and things like that. I don't know if I want to get down that route.
I'll do it.
That enough, right?
Well, what was that one we played? We did this gig at this huge manor house, didn't we?
Oh yeah, it was fucking loose.
So it was like it wasn't. So the first lockdown happened, and then mine things got
like everything like loosened. Like boozers are like.
Was this recent?
This was.
This is recent.
No, what date? It's June, wasn't it? I don't know when things loosened off. Anyway, we got booked for this.
Did you pluck your eyebrows, Paddy?
No.
See what I was asking in a way? She was wondering the way down. She was like, "Does Paddy pluck his eyebrows?"
I've got a fucking ass. I've got a Botox and all.
Sorry, man.
Oh, it's alright. We played this huge. The size of the house.
No, it was a big house.
$8,000 to rent it for the week, and we went to this fucking.
It was huge. It was like a manor. But the way up, I'd been out the night before.
Whereabouts in Edinburgh?
Pit
It was Pitlochry. But I'd been up the night before, and like the roads to get there were like.
We went the wrong place. We went up this old woods.
Yeah, we turned up at some random guy's gaff, and we're like, "Is this what it is?" And he was like,
He's like, "Fuck off,
He
mate."
says what fucking timber in that. He said
It
it was a fucking mad drive up there, and I was rough as tits. I hadn't slept. I was like to Nick, I was like, "You need to take it easy on these roads, mate. Like you need to take it easy because I'm rough, eh." So turned up, I'm fucking. I felt like I was about to whitey. Turned up at this gaff. I was almost sick twice, so I had to stop. Turned up at this gaff, and it was fucking huge. It was. The women that was organising it was for somebody's birthday. We've turned up, and we were like, "This is massive." We turned up, and they were just like, "What the fuck is going on?" We were standing outside like a couple of fucking idiots.
What were they like? Nah, new party.
It was not happening.
No, we were like, it was some birthday party, and there was everyone came up from London for it, and then we were like, "Oh, we're in the right place." What they said? No, or something.
Well, we were standing
inside this guy's room. Just like we're the DJs.
So we went upstairs.
And
we
were
were all
booked?
ready. Yeah, we were booked to play. We went up because we just walked in.
I was under the impression you had mates there.
And we've turned up, and there was like all these buds getting ready, and we're like, "Oh, we're DJing." I'm not like we've not booked any DJs. I was standing looking at him. I'm like,
"You're right enough."
Idiot.
I was like,
"This is the wrong fucking place, you fucking idiot, Nick." And then they've turned around and oh my god, she's got us fucking stinking. Like she was like, you're that's your thing, yeah. So we went downstairs, set up, got everyone ready, got the fucking lights, speakers and all that going, and this place was massive, like I'm talking like
music video.
Like it had like a hunting room, like a trophy room and all that kind of shit. It was that big. So we started off, got everything going, playing tunes, and then like everyone had fucked off to go to a meal. So we were just standing there on our own. And we're like, let's go and explore. We got fucking lost in the...
They didn't feed you?
No, did they? Fuck.
A boy your size, I would
We went to Scotland beforehand. We fucking had pizzas and chicken nuggets. I was like, we're gonna get pissed. Let's get some fucking scram beforehand. So got these pizzas, chicken nuggets, which are probably still kicking about in that freezer as we speak. But we went for a wee wander because we were like, right. They told us this. That one of the women came along. She was like, right, okay, we sleep in here. So we're like, cool, right. And then we went a wander to try and find where our room was again. We got fucking lost. Like we could not find our way back out to where it was. And then eventually everyone's turned up. I've never been in a house so big in my life. It was about 26 bedrooms.
How many people at the party remember remember about restrictions?
But the thing is, this is the thing. It was at that point in time, at that moment in time, it was under 30, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was that you could do that. And basically what happened. So halfway through the night, it was going
slamming out the chains.
Slamming it out. And then the police turned up.
Police turned up. I took my USBs and ran.
We ran, and we found a little room. We found the billiards room.
It was like the gamekeeper's room, like where the guy who fucking maintains all the gardens at. So we're hiding in there, and with the girls whose birthday.
Boys were running. No, because some boy at the party jumped in the back of the police car. He jumped in the back of the police car.
They come in to like see like what's going on, and this boy thought it'd be a good fucking idea. Run outside, and he's jumped in the motor because they've left it unlocked. So they were going to be completely fine about it. They were just going to leave it as it was. But this fucking idiots decided to jump in the back of the motor. So they went on a rampage, and they're like.
What do you mean a rampage? Did people start getting lifted?
Nobody got lifted. No,
they lined everyone at the party. They lined them all up in
what?
One of the rooms. It says, but we were hiding in another room in the house. They lined everyone up and says, "Who's the boy that jumped in the motor?" And they couldn't find him. He was away somewhere. And he changed his shirt because he was wearing a white shirt. He changed his shirt, and the policemen were running around.
They were like sprinting, like looking for this one guy. They came past the room we were in, but we turned all the lights off and were hiding under a table. And he's come in, and he was like, I can see he's, by the way. Me fucking sitting like that, probably pushing the table off him. I went, alright, and he was like, why he's hiding? I'm like,
you're the police.
He's pulled us out and he was like, who jumped in the motor? And I was like,
what?
I was like, what do you mean who jumped in the motor? He was like, somebody thought it'd be fucking funny to run and jump in the motor. And we were like, nah.
Did the boy do anything? He just jumped in the motor?
He just literally, like, he hid in the boot. That's what he done. And I think when the police had jumped back in the car to leave, he shot himself and jumped out the boot. And then that's what's kicked it all off. So we were sitting there all night.
No, we had all the equipment there, and then after that we were like, right, we can't play because they come up again, they're taking the equipment off.
They're taking it all off. It's his stuff.
We had 2000s, didn't we?
Yeah, and my fucking USBs were firmly held to my chest.
And then we were there, and then we after that we just stayed up all night, and then we went to bed eventually.
Together?
Well, I didn't even go to bed. And then we woke up, and then we got up in the morning. And
it was like a full
chef comes round.
There's a chef, mate, for
what?
breakfast.
They got a chef. So they
Who are these people?
Don't disclose anything.
But he chef says, "How would you like your egg cooked, sir?" And I'm not even lit. We're all sitting around this table, eh?
It's about fucking 15 of us in the morning sitting around there. Just looking like absolute fucking scum sitting like that to eat a fucking egg.
It was beautiful. It was one of the nicest breakfasts I've had.
Yeah, it was fucking class. So that drive on the way home was even worse, man. It was fucking.
And then you had to get a train.
Well, no, well, I got a train. I booked a train. That was because I was like, telling him, I was like, look, can I hang about yours until my train arrives? And he was like, no, I've got a family meal and all that. Probably talking shit. Just don't want me in the house.
I've got my grand's meal.
It was.
Did they? So they didn't own this place?
No, they rented it out, but they rented it out for the week. But it was just.
But they own a lot of venues around Pitlochry.
Oh, right,
so
okay.
I think they rented it because they didn't want to trash their own place.
Trash some other cunt's place. But fucking, I had to wait on this train for 3 hours. 13% of my phone. Sitting there like that. I hadn't slept probably in 2 days. Just sitting there, fucking edge of a train station. Sipping away at a Ribena. No, it's horrible.
Could have been worse, mate. Could have been in a cell for some bastard jumping in the boot of a police motor.
Behind the back of a boot.
But yeah, I mean that's one of the many stories we've had.
I've had nothing exciting during lockdown apart.
The Stug Sports.
We'll never forget I said that. The only thing close to that has happened to us during lockdown. We were doing a live stream in the studio, and we'd got super baked. It was for our new agency, so we kind of try no do live streams, but we done it for them. I'd went and bought some tacky lights, like a shitty wee strobe and some like kind of like a kids disco light. So the police had, in fact, somebody had put an illegal party on in about our studio complex like 2 weeks before or something. So the police had been keeping an eye. Our studio's at the front, so they'd seen it. They'd heard the tunes pumping and seen these shite lights. And I had done my hour and a half. Dan was doing him, and I was getting tore into the joints. So I'm like baked out my banger, and the door goes. It's the boy from across the way, and he's like, "Kenny, I need you to come outside." And I'm like,
"Fucking you come in."
And I was like, trying to hand him a banger and that, and I was like, "Oh," and he was like, "No, come outside." And I was like, no idea what he's wanting. Before I go outside, and I'm not kidding, there's like 15 coppers. And I was like, "Oh yeah." And they were like, "Yeah, you having a party in there?" And I'm like, kinda.
I had that once in my old flat in Edinburgh.
You had that in your fucking parents' house, doing your live streams out the window.
I did. Well, actually, I did. So basically, during lockdown, I had these huge speakers, because I was
the speakers at a club.
At a club, right? I had them in my room, and my room's on the third floor, and it projects the whole of Perth. So basically, during the summer, beautiful days and that, I put the speakers out the window and I was playing for the street.
Had a group WhatsApp chat. And she was getting all the texts and requests and that.
It was old 80s jams and that, and everyone was loving it. Like in the street, everyone was dancing about.
Was that actually happening?
Aye. There's videos of it. And then basically the police, 4 police vans turned up, and Pure come up and say, "You better fucking stop that, we're taking it away." Everyone's social distance, everyone's in their garden. We're just trying to.
Oh, did you have troops in their garden dancing? Oh, class.
The whole street was dancing.
That was the community spirit during lockdown. No cunt gives a fuck about anybody.
But I think one of the things is the police had nothing to do at that point in time. Like everyone was in the house, so they were like they sent the cavalry to this little disturbance, and it kind of put me off a wee bit, because if they say we come back, we're taking it away.
Taking it all off you. What happened with you?
No, they fucked off, didn't they? Because they were like, "There's 2 years in here doing a live stream," and they were like, "It's not a party." And we were like, "Well, it depends how you."
Depends what
you call a party.
Is the street not soundproof then?
No. It's a complex, a music complex, but if you walk up and doing it, you just hear loads of noise coming out of everybody's rooms.
Yeah.
That's sound. But the police were they were good cop, bad cop. The guy who was running the show was like, "Oh, we're really sorry. I'm told we're doing a live stream." I was like, "Come in," and he was like, "Nanias are interested in on a video." But there was a guy at the back like, "Can we smell cannabis in there?" We're like,
fuck off, you fucking knock.
Nah, they can be quite heavy-handed.
They were sound. They were embarrassed, man, because they were team-handed. There was loads of them.
Right, man's fucking on place.
Is that Burniston? I don't know if you've seen that Burniston skit. And they're like, "Oh, we just got the boys bringing the cans."
They were kind of like Burniston coppers. I was waiting in Grado turning up like one of them. Nah, they fucked off and left us alone.
But we're going to look at your favourite DJs. Top favourite DJs.
My favourite DJ has been the same DJ for years as David Funk. Like, I love how he DJs, I love how he produces, I love how he goes about stuff. He's just a fucking weirdo. He gets mad with it. He plays Italo and he plays techno, so I'm like, he's a man.
Yeah. So if you're putting on a lineup,
aye.
what's your lineup, mate?
How many DJs have we got? So David Funk's headlining, right? I'll probably go for all that Dutch mob. So maybe IF, IG, Intergalactic Gary, Alden Terrell, David Funk maybe, aye. Just the Dutch state, aye. Happy with that.
Was that your kind of vibe, Dutch stuff then?
Well, I don't know if that's a sound, it's just like back kind of 2008 to 10, like they were doing big stuff. There was that kind of revamp of Italo, and I'm into Italo, but they were like kind of verging into house with it. And aye, they were.
Was that what you say? That's what that kind of influences your production as well.
Probably, aye, because they were unashamedly like kind of grabbing stuff from the past and like kind of bringing it forward a wee bit. Aye, Dexter, people like that.
Fair play.
Dexter,
what
David Funk.
Mine's, don't know, that's a tough one. So I've got so many different like
you're
music.
I like
you're
everything. Quite all over the place.
Yeah. No, I like it because I like hip hop. I like R&B, I like everything. So. Don't know, it's a tough one.
You want to book dafties though. It's like you don't want to book like kind of nice, polished behaving people. You want to book idiots.
Well, I mean, I'd probably go someone like Craig Richards. Like, I think he's fucking.
Craig Richards.
So you're going for talent.
I seen one of the best gigs I've seen was in Ibiza, Amnesia. Sonia Munoz were warming up for Ricardo Villalobos. That was.
I played with Cliff Richards and he was wearing beautiful pyjamas. Like silk. I can't remember where it was, man. He came on after us. We warmed up for him, and he was these beautiful deep blue silk paisley pattern pyjamas.
Get me a set of them.
Man knows how to dress. Even got to bed.
Delgado and people like that. Like, that's kind of that trippy sort of.
I like booking dafties.
Absolutely.
Takes the heat off me.
I'm trying to think of the most mental person I've booked.
Tom Trago, 100%.
He likes to take his gear off though, doesn't he?
Tom
Oh,
Trago.
there's a photo in my old flat that I found with his top off.
I seen a picture of him naked in the sub club, rolling about on that big table in the middle of the sub club. Not during the club.
I've picked him up for the airport. Like, never met him before.
Well, remember we had that problem with him. We thought
I've never met him actually.
We thought it came as missus, but it was actually his fucking tour manager. So he's turned up at the hotel and he was like, yeah, his room. He was
I'm
like,
on a date with
fucking, he was like, no, 2 rooms.
Then you phoned me and
I was like, Nick, you fucking done me here, mate. I was like, that's no his bird, that's his tour manager. I was like, what's 2 rooms? But prior to all this, right, we've come at the airport. First time meeting the guy and he was like, when we've left, like walking that space between the airport and the car, I was like, I'm gonna have a fag. He was like, yeah. Just fucking spat up a fags. Walking away, open up the car, and he's like, I'm gonna sit here. And he opens up the boot and he just fucking shoves himself in the boot like that. He's like, I'll just sit here.
Why? Is he happy he's not?
He was sober at this. No, in fact, no. He was like, where's the closest place we can drink? So I was like, there's a bar in the airport. So I've sat with him for 20 minutes while he's having fucking some drinks. And then we go fucking this whole car escapade. And then after that, the hotel. And then he's turned up at the gig and he came to an afters with us and everything.
Yeah, I came to my old flat before I got kicked out.
Yeah.
Sounds a good geezer.
Aye, no, he's
And I was on a date with a bird and I left. I was like, right, can you sort this one time? I was sitting in Shapraya with this bird who didn't know anything about promoting nights or anything and like hated all this stuff. And then suddenly I get Paddy to Rego on my phone. He's like, yeah, we've only got one hotel room, man, fuck's sake. And then the managers call me from London. I'm like, right, sorry, I've got to just book another hotel room.
let this fucking food get cold.
But that was a class party.
No, that was a really good set as well. I really enjoyed his set. Got a really unique style, Tom Trago.
You don't get any hassle off of us when you used to have to look after us, Paddy, did you?
Nothing at all.
Good boys, good quiet.
Oh,
Good chat.
I mean, I have to say, one of the things I hated about promoting nights is dealing with the tour managers, the agents. Like they got someone you email about their itinerary. They got fucking their manager.
What's in your itinerary?
That kind of put.
You've seen my itinerary, haven't you, man? There's fuck all in it. We just asked for buckfast, beers, wee bag of weed, and working decks.
But to be honest, that put me off promoting as well. The dealing with the sort of
the shite.
all the people.
I think, see, when we were doing it, we were quite lucky that a lot of the time we didn't use agents. We were kind of using artists that maybe were happy just to come off the back of their own and organise it themselves.
So you get it wrong if you go direct to the DJs now.
We found it the hard way.
Because we know, we're quite close to a lot of them, but when sometimes the managers will get arsey if you go to them.
Oh no, I've experienced that myself.
Which is like, it's kind of puts you off the scene, puts you off promoting stuff.
I think, but when you get to a certain level, if you've got a team behind you, you want people to use them. If you're paying them, you need them to be used, don't you?
I know, but then when you know someone well, you kind of treat them as a mate. You're like, right, they're going to be totally keen to do it, but it's their manager that they've obviously signed a contract with their manager that just, he'll give
There's a lot of fucking politics involved there.
Cause such is life. That's how it works, man.
And then we've had a couple of tour managers. Most of them have been very sad.
Well, I mean, we had a wee incident with Gorgon City. I went kind of tits up.
Who's Gorgon City? I don't even know who that is.
They're massive.
They're pretty big. We've had stuff in the charts and all that, but Nick booked them. End up going partying with them. Went to an afters, and then we went back to the hotel, and just getting steam in, etc., etc. And then he gets a phone call must have been about fucking 6 in the morning or something, off the tour manager, and he's just like, oh fuck it, patch it. And another hour passes. And I'm getting this phone call for this unknown number. I'm like, Nick, I was go and fucking check who that tour manager's number was. It's the same number. I was like, patch it. Get some more beers ordered. And then it comes to about 8 in the morning.
The guy comes up because
he comes up with a fucking train, everything. I'm just sitting there, in a par in the corner.
Because they wanted this, they get they play fucking, when did they play Coachella and get $100 grand for a set? And so we had to get these 5-star rooms and that. So I was like, right, we're there. and
Your man
boys
comes
come-
up with a silver
boys come up
platter.
with a tray of Peronis and that at like 6 in the morning.
Fucking over the arm and that.
And then what?
I think it came to about 8 in the morning.
And we all went down for a fag.
Yeah, I went down for a fag and the fucking tour managers walked past me and I'm like, when I ran back in and I'm like, yeah, that cunt just fucking walked past me. I was like, he signed me up. I was like, what are we gonna do here? And then he fucking phones one of the actual DJs. He was like, you've got a flight in 15 minutes. He was like, what's going on? And
That's
he's
his
like,
job, man.
He was like, just fucking cancel it. They were like, just cancel the flight, we'll get another one. They ended up having to stay another night because we were fuck up. We were sitting in the hotel. Had to leave at like, I think we left at like 11 in the morning, man. Like absolute fear walking outside.
We all went down for a fag, like me, Paddy, and the two boys from Matt and Kai from Gorgon City. And the tour manager sitting in the lobby on his laptop. Like that.
Like obviously freaking out, trying to book your flights and everything.
They're just
We're walking
saying
past, aye, sound man.
They're just like, don't worry about him, man.
Fuck that for a job, man.
But to be fair, that show, like that sold out cab all for me, but the amount of money we had to spend on the fucking
on us.
three 5-star hotel rooms, 3 flights.
Two-Door Cinema Club ended up turning up as well. To the fucking
they were all on stage that night, and they were all like, the lead singer came up and said, "Oh, can we get some VIP drinks up here?" I was like, "Mate, what?"
There's a couple of cans of Red Stripe. Enjoy.
But aye, that was funny. And we did Scream open to close, the first open to close tour, and he played 7 hours at Caball. He almost missed his flight to Warehouse Project as well.
I hear he likes a party as well.
Let's see. Scream, party. Some have said.
So aye, that was pretty mental as well. Yeah, in terms of promoting, obviously you've done that before.
Yeah.
You got any interest in going back to it?
No, really, man. It's too much the hard work. As soon as we started doing better and getting gigs, we were quickly up for stopping promoting, man. Getting other people to put parties on. I'd much rather play for other people than put on the parties. It's much less work. Aye. No stress, no losing money. Nah.
Turn up, get pissed, leave.
Aye, I'm happy not to do that, man. Aye, that's a young boy's game, that.
So have you played like some of your best? What are some of your best gigs you played to memory?
Jeez. Panorama Bar is probably the best memory because it's like it's somewhere but it's somewhere I'd been going for years as well. So it's like I felt comfortable there, and it was never really nervous for gigs. But that was like because we were starting at 6 in the morning, so we went out, got a bevy, went back, had a couple of hours kip, got up fresh, tried to go there fresh. So all our pals were like on it.
Were you not tempted to be on it as well?
No, to start with, man,
because it was a big. In the morning,
but it was a big. Normally you would, but if you were getting up, let's get straight on it. But it was a big gig. You know what I mean? You don't get many gigs like that in your life, like especially at that time. It was quite early for us.
How long ago was this?
What, 5 years ago?
I think I actually remember.
Aye, that was Ben's at the time. But my agent Ben, that was the first gig he got us.
No way.
Ben
he phoned me at my work and he was like, "Do you fancy playing Panorama Bar?" I was like, "What this afternoon?"
Let me know what you think.
I know. No, that's amazing, man. We got to play we meant to be playing for 2 hours. We ended up playing for 6. They just told us to keep going, and you get the shutters, and you get shut the place. So that's pretty special, man.
Busy, aye.
It was rammed, man. We played. What's my memory's so bad? What's that venue in Amsterdam that shut now? I can't for the life of me remember it. We played the part of the sub club tour with Harry and Dominic. If I can remember the name of the club, it'd be a decent story.
No, Club X.
Panorama Bar sticks out beyond anything. Everything else, the smaller the better. First time playing for the sub club, starting residencies at La Cheetah, stuff in Glasgow, man.
Well, what's your favourite places to play in Glasgow then?
That's unfair, man.
What, name one? Last place to play, last gig?
Sub club, probably. It's got so much heritage, so many pals involved. Aye.
What about that room 2 that started up? Have you played that?
Aye, it's Dario's other place, isn't it? We've got a residency there, the new, between there and La Cheetah.
I've heard that's decent, you know.
It is good, man. It's big. but it's good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like twice the size of the Cheetah.
I was meant to play.
What's it called? Room 2?
Mm-hmm. It used to be. Shit! It'll come back to me.
I was meant to play Subway. I don't know if you remember that charity football tournament in Glasgow.
Yeah.
So we won it. I was in the fly team. We won it, and the prize was to play.
Yeah, they asked us to play that.
And I didn't. I was dead, honestly, so I didn't play. But I would like to play Subway. I would like to play Subway at one point. I mean,
aye, it's the booths. The booth's something else, man. It's just so easy. So it's not always you go into a club and you go into the booth and it's like, this sounds class.
That's what I'm saying about when you're standing, like you're almost like level with.
But you're on the dance floor, but it's the sound in that booth. It's like there's a total difference in sound from the dance floor to the booth. It's like you don't hear the dance floor, you only hear the booth, so you can work in like kind of perfect sound. But aye, Subway probably.
The atmosphere in Subway is completely different. I remember the first time I ever went there. I can't remember who was even playing. I think it was Joris Vaughan actually, and I was just like blown away. I was just like, what?
It's hard for me to say, Glasgow, because we've been in the Berkeley, we were residents there for like kind of nearly 3 years, like our 2 periods, and some of the parties in there were fantastic. La Cheetah's been really good to us, and it's like, I remember us coming through and getting big, playing like our second or third gig in La Cheetah, and like the full place chanting our name, and it's like, it's unusual.
Well,
but it's like good memories like that, that's cool.
The first time I went was the Boiler Room, was it the one you done?
What, the sub?
I think it was.
I didn't want to do that. That was for ages and ages, and I like kicked my heels. I was just being an old dick. I don't like. I don't like Boiler Room. I don't like it, man. I don't like the format. I don't like the. I'm going to sound like an actual old banger here. So I quite like the experience of going to a club when you've never been before. Like, so there's a generation of kids coming through now that can watch a club before they go.
Oh, I know what you mean. So they
you know what I mean? So you're sitting in your bedroom at fucking 15-year-old and you're watching a club, and you think that's how you're supposed to behave in a club, and you think that's what a club looks like. Where before, when I started going to a club, or when you started going to clubs, you'd never been in before. Maybe you'd been to an unders, but you'd never been to a proper club night. Yeah. You don't know what the inside of the club looks like. You don't know how you're even meant to queue. Do you know what I mean? As you're off fucking fidgety and nervous in the queue, or how you act with a bouncer. How do you smuggle your drugs in? They get up your farter or down your. It's like there's lots of stuff.
There's things you need to know.
There's lots of stuff to think about, which Boiler Room.
It's an educational podcast.
There's lots of stuff to think about, which Boiler Room doesn't teach you, right? But what I mean is, it's like. It's taking that kind of innocence away, or even that kind of nervousness, that nervous energy is great. Like building up that nervous energy before you go somewhere.
Yeah. Right, but I remember I used to go before nights out, man. I used to get fucking butterflies. Like you're nervous as fuck.
I used to DJ like the club that I used to DJ in the park. They thought I was 18. I was still in school, and I'd go in the six year the common room, and everyone used to go Loft Thursdays, and everyone used to like, it was the biggest night, and I go
turn
in the
up to school and I still pinging.
Room 2 used to be called Shomra 69. Just come back to me there, kiddo.
And I go in the common room and be like, yeah, I guess he's playing Loft Thursdays tonight. Everyone's like talking about the night, and they're like, fuck off, no way you playing it. Turn up, I'm playing up for the thing. And
still in a school uniform.
They thought I was 18, but I was 17. And when you go in the club, when I was 17 going in the club, and you got butterflies, and then all the bouncers know you.
You turn up like that.
Walk straight in.
I still get that buzz. Like, see, walking up to a club you've never played before, I'm looking forward to seeing it, how it's set out, what the crowd's going to be like, what the booth's going to be like. I love all that. Aye, or you get squeezed into a corner that side, I know. But it's like, Boiler Room's kind of taking that shit away. Memories back again. The club in Amsterdam was called Trou. It was that was like kind of my first point where I felt like my career was a DJ and it was going well. I was like kind of been booked as part of the sub club tour. So as I went onto the decks, I was like super fucking stoned as you would be in Amsterdam. And I play my first track. It goes down well. I look I look behind me and Harry and Dom's there. I look to my right hand side, my best mate's there. I'm like, this DJ lark's no bad, is it? Do you know what I mean? And it was like Trow closed down that year, so we're lucky enough to play there before it shut as well.
Have you ever been in a couple of situations where, like, you know, if you get booked for a gig, right, you do a bit of research, you find out you kind of have an idea in your mind what it's going to be like, and you obviously won't plan a set, but you'll be like, I kind of have a rough idea what I'm going to play.
Yeah.
You get there,
and
you
have
play
to
the tune, and
you up completely.
Like,
it's not happening.
That's brutal.
It's not happening. I think I would. My plan would probably be to persist for a wee bit.
See if you can
turn it round. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got that kind of, I can turn this round. I bet you can't persist if it's not happening. You need to try and change it up, man. You need to have a plan B.
Yeah, and you always have a plan. You always have a plan B.
You've always got your go-to tunes that
but
you know are going to go down.
Aye, that's what you do. Go to your go-tos. If they don't work, panic.
You're like, fuck it, I'm away. Got
It's kind of annoying though, because if you're like, oh, this could be class party, busy. Even if it's busy and in the crowd, you just could play and just like they're just not getting it. It's the wrong crowd. So you change it.
It happens, man.
It annoys you though. It annoys me anyway.
You just need to get out of it. Sometimes it's because, like, maybe somebody's put a party on who doesn't know who you are, and they might have seen your name in an article or something and thought they're worth booking, but their party's fuck all like you. You turn up, all the people that go to the party are into something else. You start banging out techno, and they're like,
wait
what
a minute,
the
it's a hip hop night.
What's going on with the old guy with the beard playing techno?
Bye. Anyway.
I think we can wrap it at that,
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on for the first back-to-back podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Cut out all the bits where I was horrible. That'd be class.
I think it'd be brilliant, mate. I'm sure we'll do it again.
Nice one.
Again for the next one.
Yeah, class,
Right.
thanks.
Right, mate.